I could build a spaceship.
Hello and welcome to Space Doc Jury Minisode 20-something.
Yes, that one.
Yes, hello. I'm Lee.
Hi, Peter.
I'm Andy.
And this week has sprung up from a conversation that was kind of sprawled, if you're feeling particularly Sherlock Holmesian, across Twitter, Facebook, and then if you were really Sherlock Holmesian, the pub for Martin Thompson's birthday. And basically what happened was we got to talking about Star Trek movies.
Specifically, what's the worst one?
What's the worst one, exactly. Which has then led on to, well, actually, we kind of all take it for granted that certain films are particularly the best. You know, the odd ones are rubbish, the even ones are good. So, I suddenly came up with the possibly terrible brainstorm idea of let's properly rank these motherfuckers.
Because that's what we're about here, ranking shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're a right proper bunch of rankers.
with the full rank corporation.
We do enjoy a good maths debate as well.
Oh, good lord. Wah, 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 wah. And,
Oh, did that land a bit flaccid?
yeah, just a bit. It was a bit limp. So what the plan was we were going to basically try and rank the 10 Prime-verse movies.
Mostly because Pete refuses to watch the new ones.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've seen 2 of them, and that's quite enough.
Yeah, in fairness, you haven't gone into Darkness, and that's not. There's no good shall come of that, frankly.
You will find a new appreciation for even the worst of the Prime films after seeing it, though.
Well, you know, debatable.
And to be fair, let's face it, our views on the JJ films are available in the epic 12-part series that was Minisode 14.
And 14 and 14B.
And C.
Yeah.
And I think they maybe got as far as D.
No, bloody A, bloody B, bloody C. Anyway, so, yeah, let's get on with this. It may be that we do this in 2 parts, but we're going to focus primarily to start with on the first 6. And if time permits, and this doesn't turn into a 3-hour podcast, because we've got to do the other one, the full episode yet, we will either move on to Next Generation or we'll turn it into a second part. So... okay, then. So let's get the easy one out of the way. I mean, between the 3 of us, and I think we'll do this in order to stop any kind of to start with, but are we all agreed what is ostensibly the best of the classic Trek movies?
I expect so.
So we are in agreement. I will always say Wrath of Khan is the best Trek movie, unless I'm watching Undiscovered Country.
Okay.
But when I'm watching Undiscovered Country, I think that's the best one. But only when I'm watching it.
Yeah, parts of the Undiscovered Country are really good. Yeah,
okay.
But I wouldn't say as a whole it was better than 2.
Really? Okay. That's okay. Straight away, I feel like the wheels have just come off because I was about to leap forward there. But so are we all agreed? I think that Wrath of Khan is the high watermark.
Yes.
For all right. Okay. So I'm
Consistently excellent film. Yes.
Right. Yes, it is. So, it not just as a good Trek film, just as a good film.
Exactly.
Period.
Yes, it's covering a number of different themes and thematic kind of areas about age.
Characters have arcs. They grow. Yeah. They learn a lesson. They move on with their lives.
And there are spaceship battles, most importantly.
Yes, very much so. And
memorable villains, memorable lines, memorable slugs.
Yeah. Nice.
The best uniforms as well.
Oh, okay. Yep. Is that because you've actually bought some?
Yes.
Well, there you go. No, nice and impartial alt fact there for you Americans in the audience. So, okay, well that's the easy bit out of the way, I guess. So, what about let's get on to. I won't go to the worst, but what film? If you were to take Wrath of Khan out of the equation, what would be your automatic default for the classic movies?
Again, probably Undiscovered Country.
Yep.
Really? Okay. So there's no kind of falling back on things like Search for Spock because it completes the trilogy or anything like that.
It doesn't complete the trilogy because it's the middle part. and secondly, it's
Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, point taken.
The thing with Search for Spock is I enjoy watching that as a follow-on to Wrath of Khan. But if you're saying if I've watched Wrath of Khan, I might say, you know what, I'm going to watch Search for Spock now. But if I'm just sitting there saying I'm going to just watch a Star Trek film from the first 6, and it's one of those on its own, but I can't watch Wrath of Khan, it's going to be The Undiscovered Country because it has a lot of similar themes to what we see in Wrath of Khan. Characters grow. There's a nice arc. The effects stand up pretty well. And again, it's just on the whole a damn good film. You know, it's got some great lines in it. Great score, fantastic score.
Yep. No,
so,
no disagreement there.
Yeah, and I mean that is generally for me my second on the original Star Trek films. It's
okay, cool.
Usually 6.
Cool. And what about you, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, there are bits that irk me about Star Trek 6, and I spoke at length about it when we did a commentary on it for the broadcast, so I'm not going to get stuck back into it again.
It's the fucking galley.
That's a part of it, yeah. Also, the treatment of Uhura, I'm not at all happy with. I mean, the fact that they spell her name and the credits wrong at the end really sums it up.
Comment about any treatment of Uhura, given what your favourite fucking film is. Well,
you see,
yeah. There we go. I can hear the nuts coming off the wheel hubs now. Here we go.
No. We got the air gun.
But okay, so would you agree with Andy then, Pete? Just he says desperately trying to hold this rickety barge
I mean,
together.
in terms of 3, I used to have to. Pretty much any time I watch 2, then have to watch 3 because it's Spock's dead. Quick, stick the third one on. He's back. But as a film, as an of itself, it does have some really plodding parts in it.
Especially
some very dull stretches.
Yeah, especially the love of getting a a theatrical actress to stand there looking slightly embarrassed doing a bunch of Vulcan ceremonies.
Yeah. And I also at that bit where they've got 5 crew piloted the Enterprise. I know they've got automation, but even so, that annoys me intensely.
It's fine when the Defiant does it, though.
No, it's still not good then.
But in fairness, the Defiant is a much smaller ship. Come on, let's be honest.
It's true. I
mean, you know, it takes,
certainly nowhere near as impressive.
It takes one person. It takes one person to drive a speedboat. It doesn't take one person to drive the QE2.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, for me, I haven't added anything to this conversation really because at the moment I completely agree with a pair of you. I mean, the one thing I will say is on occasions, because Wrath of Khan is so ubiquitous and I love it so much, I often find that with Khan, sometimes I don't want to go back to it. I do want to go to something like Undiscovered Country, which has that kind of same vibe and gives the crew a nice send-off, and it's got some emotional growth in the whole thing, and Kirk isn't insufferable.
Christopher Plummer as well. I mean, quoting Shakespeare.
Yep, exactly. So it has all the key ingredients of Wrath of Khan, but it's just different enough from Khan for me to want to watch that if I'm going to watch any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So now we get into the particularly thorny issue of your third option. If you were going to go for... these 2 have gone now. You can't choose Wrath of Khan. You can't choose Undiscovered Country. So which film would you fall back on? And I'm going to go for you, Pete. What would you go for, sir?
Well, you know what I'm going to go for next, don't you?
I think I will, but can I just drink my tea first? So I don't spit it all over the keyboard in pure rage. But go on then.
Hate to damage any equipment. Yes, it is 5.
Fucking
my third favourite film.
Really? Yeah. Over Search for Spock, you do
over
5.
Search for Spock every time. In fact, Search for Spock's quite far down the list for me.
Wow. Just wow.
And for this reason, Your Honour, I would like that any decision he makes in the doing of his podcast be stricken, because obviously he's insane.
I would like to send him forward for an administrative job in the White House. Actually, I think with that sort of decision making.
No.
I mean, wow, seriously. So what is it about?
But for very personal reasons. I mean, technically, clearly, it is flawed. You can't get away from it. ILM's lack of involvement means the effects are poop.
The Enterprise is the fatty prize. Yep, carry on.
We used to fine wine in this department, and we get a blend of sort of half blue nun and half rat's piss. But there we are.
So Okay.
It's Shatner splurged the tiny budget too soon, leaving nothing for the finale except a vague head firing lasers from its eyes. Well, they'll just be great if you don't get... You've seen the picture of the rock monster they were going to use.
Yes, which they then incorporated into Galaxy Quest with humorous results.
Yes.
I mean...
the idea Cybok takes over the Enterprise with his tiny army suggests there's a crew of about 12 on board this time.
Yep.
And whoever labelled the levels in the turbo lift clearly needs to be taken out in shots because they go all... That so annoys me, that scene. They're numbered from the wrong end, so they start level one.
It's one on the bottom, and
where rather than level one being the bridge and going down, and you get them repeats because they've reused footage.
And Spock seems to have nicked the old 1970s SAS tops from Lewis Collins.
He did look. What was that shop that used to sell all the camping gear?
Yeah, Millets.
Millets. That's it. It looks like he's just come out of Millets, doesn't he? Millets.
Oh, and then of course we have the comedy.
Yeah, I enjoy the comedy. I mean, this is the thing. The character stuff I love. I would, I quite happily put it up there with anything in any of the rest of the films.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, good
There was
Lord.
two there were two
fire.
worthwhile things that came out of Star Trek V. Only two.
Star Trek 6.
No. One of them is the assault phaser, which went on to be used in Star Trek 6, because that's a fucking cool design.
Mm-hmm.
And two is the little bit of a glimpse into McCoy's backstory about the death of his father.
Which is lovely.
That is it.
Oh, I see. No, row your boat doesn't do it for you.
Oh, God, no. Don't bring that up again.
You have no soul. That's the problem. It's clearly.
Keyless Ally, does this unit have a soul? No, I don't care. I mean, seriously, for me, the Final Frontier is the nadir of all Star Trek. It's you can't get any lower.
See, I don't think it's the worst of all Star Trek, but it's certainly the worst of the original Trek.
I think it's worse because it does the same problem that Phantom Menace does to Star Wars, which Kingdom of the Crystal Skull does to Indiana Jones. It takes beloved characters and it basically gives you a warts and all embarrassing home movie of them. It basically does what Darren on the Black Dog once referred to as the Superman donkey paradox.
What?
Which is basically Superman. He can rescue as many people as you like. He can save the entire planet millions and millions of times over. But one day he gets caught fucking a donkey, and no one will.
Read that comic.
And no one will ever let him forget it. It doesn't matter whether he saves a jumbo jet or the space shuttle, whether he stops the moon crashing into the sun or what. There will always be someone going, "That bloke fucked a donkey." And that's what Final Frontier does. You literally cannot look at William Shatner anymore without thinking row, row, row your boat. You can't look at Scotty anymore without the very unfunny comedy, I know this ship like the back of my hand, dink. You can't look at Spock without thinking, oh my God, he literally has all this stuff about logic, suddenly magics up a brother and then is willing to go with him and let him take over the entire ship with like 7 people and a button. I mean, it's just, you can't look at any of it without it being tainted by that film.
None of these things are a problem to me.
Well,
No, you see, I'm with you. It is by far and away the worst of the original series films. But I maintain it is not the worst prime Trek film. I still maintain Insurrection is worse.
I maintain,
and I'll tell you this as well. Star Trek V, for all its faults, has never made me apocalyptically angry. Into Darkness makes me apocalyptically angry.
But that doesn't count because that's not Prime Universe.
But my point still being, as a Trek film, I will watch Star Trek V gleefully over being told I have to watch Into Darkness.
I wouldn't watch either of them, frankly. It's a bit like saying, do you want to drown or do you want me to hold your head under the water? It's the same deal. It's like, no, I don't want any of it. Thanks. Ever. I even took my DVD. I was so angry at watching Final Frontier for Black Dog. I was so angry, I actually threw it out into the street and let a bus run over it. But and I took photos as well. And the worst bit of all was the bloody disc survived.
Quality will out.
But anyway, let's move on to Andy. What would you pick as your third choice for
Probably Search for Spock.
Search for Spock? That's interesting.
It has a few issues, but I do like the stealing the Enterprise moment. That's all very cool. The score is fantastic. Again, it's James Horner, top of his game still. You know, it's a great musical score, and I like the. It's okay. You might look at it now as with hindsight of it being a bit ham-fisted, bringing Spock back, but I think it's become a cliche because of this film. When this film came out, though, it was something slightly original, slightly more interesting way to do it. So, yeah, for those reasons of the first 6 films, this is my third one. Would be Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock.
I wouldn't have called that bringing back a Spock interesting at all.
No,
As we've already established, though, your opinion counts for naught here, sir.
I mean, so right, so we like about Star Trek 5. It's nowhere near as boring as parts of Star Trek 3 are. You get bored in Star Trek 5. Annoyed, angry, but not bored.
I mean, for me, everything as far as a third option is concerned is all much of a muchness. I mean, Search for Spock, I find the first 2 acts are interesting and a good thematic continuation of Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, its third act is by far the weakest part of it.
Is
but
just cock goblins and the amount and as much as it's a kind of heartbreaking moment and it's impressive and all that sort of thing, I cannot get over the fact that again, which it would later become a thing in Next Generation as well. But it seems like the Enterprise is destroyed for absolutely no reason whatsoever, apart from plot reason. We need to leave them on the planet.
That and you kind of how do we outdo the death of Spock? I don't know. We'll kill the Enterprise.
Exactly, and so. It's kind of weird because it depends on my mood, but Search for Spock or The Voyage Home would be my next option. But it really does depend on what. I mean, if we're just limiting ourselves to the classics for the moment, I mean, personally, I would be into the Next Generation by now.
Yeah, me too.
But I mean.
But someone said we had to pick from the original, so...
Yeah, this is purely for time. I must admit we might actually be able to do the Next Gen, to be honest. But, I mean, I'll say for the moment Search for Spock because the comedy in The Voyage Home really gets on my tits after a while.
It's the music which annoys me on The Voyage Home more than anything. It's like something out of bloody Beverly Hills Cop 3.
I did, literally. I bought the score the other day.
Why?
I never sat and listened to the score before. And there are bits of it that are quite good. The bits before they get to Earth.
Even those are bloody pants.
But then as soon as you get some of the score is just laughably bad.
Especially coming off of a back. I mean, hell, I'll tell you the third thing that Star Trek 5 has is it's got a fucking Jerry Goldsmith score. So at least the music's reasonable. This is coming off the back of James Horner just before Goldsmith. It's just this weird little abomination of a shitty 80s comedy score. Yeah, that.
Yeah. Oh, fuck off. Anyway, okay, well then, so we got our third options out the way.
None of us have agreed. Well, you and me kind of agreed, Lee.
Kind of agreed on Search for Spock and Wrath of Khan.
One thing I should have mentioned, the other reason why 5 is my personal third, is it was the first one I saw at the cinema, so it had a big impact because of that as well.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. Still won't wash with me, but yeah.
Won't watch with anybody other than me, let's face it.
How about you? But okay then, but if we were moving on to our fourth option, what would it be? What would it be, Andy? What would your fourth option be? And we're only sticking to the classics at the moment. But if...
Well, only sticking to the classics. Okay, this is probably where I'm going to draw a bit of heat, but I'm going to go with a motion picture over 4 because motion picture has a huge amount of issues, absolutely. But
the primary one.
Photon torpedo.
If I may, the special effects I still think stand up quite well. The music is still fantastic. And although it was perhaps poorly executed, they're at least trying to explore an idea, in that kind of Roddenberry's vision of,
Yes, they'd already done it in 40 minutes.
Yes, I know. Look, we just sat and listened to you eulogise about Star Trek 5. Okay, it's my turn now. Again, we're down at 4, and there's only 6 of these films, so you can already guess. We're pretty much in the basement for me. But if I'm choose between 1, 4, and 5, I'd probably go for 1 over the other 2, because at least there's spaceship porn in there.
Yeah, well, you see, for me, I mean, I wouldn't go for a motion picture. I would go for Voyage Home at this point, simply because even though it's cheesy and corny, it's the crew being the crew. I mean, it's kind of the same argument as Pete's Final Frontier thing, but just with less embarrassing moments. But I mean, it's still toe curling, the Voyage Home, but I come away feeling like I've watched a kind of substandard season 3 of the original series, as opposed to the motion picture where I've sat there watching them dress rehearse an episode, sitting on the bridge staring at the camera blankly for an hour. I mean, what about you, Pete?
I've got 4 next. Yeah, I mean, there's not enough space stuff in it. Is my main problem with it. And there's no explanation for why the Bird of Prey's bridge has changed so drastically. I mean, it looks better, but what happened there? Did they spend?
Well, I know you're not a huge fan of the expanded universe stuff like that, but in the comics, they actually went off, had a load of adventures on the Excelsior, and then had to steal another Bird of Prey because something happened to Spock again to go back.
What?
So technically a different Bird of Prey.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a squeeze, really.
Yeah. It's not quite up there with Han Solo going out for big adventures with a bright green rabbit, but it's not far off.
It's not far off at all. But yes.
Okie dokie. So there we go. So the Voyage Home. So what about your 5th option then, Pete? Where would you be with that?
I'm on 3 at this point, just because there are those long, dull stretches. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Fair enough. So I can guess that from that you're on the motion picture for part 6.
Is one long dull stretch, yes, sitting at the bottom.
Fair enough.
I mean, it's beautiful to look at times, but it's all the reaction shots that really make it drag. So not only staring at nothing much happening for ages, but then you're staring at the crew staring at nothing much happening for ages.
Wow. Yeah.
In the worst uniforms ever devised by man.
Well,
yeah.
They're not uniforms. They just turn up whatever T-shirt they fancied wearing.
It wasn't even T-shirts, was it? It was fucking
onesie.
like a giant onesie, wasn't it?
70s onesies.
Decker's Becker.
So I think I can work out yours, Andy, but I'll ask you anyway. What was your number 5, and then therefore your number 6?
Well, my number 5 is A Voyage Home.
Yep.
And my number 6 is stabbing both my eyes out with a fork.
Yeah, nice. Right, okay. I'll put that down as a Final Frontier then.
Same difference, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough. For me, motion pictures number 5 for me. The one thing I would say about motion picture, which is always interesting to me to watch, is how the seeds of Next Generation were planted, in the terms of having a first officer who wants to do everything by the book and go down and do all the adventure stuff and leave the captain on the bridge and all this kind of thing. And
it was all the Phase 2 stuff, wasn't it? Which is effectively what Next Gen was spawned out of.
Yeah, exactly. And then the whole thing of his love affair with the empath and all this kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting. It's always
you mean the space hooker?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I am fully there for pleasure if you want, but I am celibate today.
But anyway, yeah. So, and Final Frontier can just fucking kiss my ass. I mean, seriously, it's terrible, terrible film. But well, there you are. We're at 23 minutes, and I think we can move on to the Next Generation if you want.
Oh, goody, because this is where we can have a real fucking argument.
So okay, so we've got the classics all worked out as a 1 to 6. I'll have to do a bit of maths and pause it for a second to work it all out. But if you got 4 films, you got 4 next gen films.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your number 1 next gen film? And I'll go for Pete because I'm never entirely sure which way he's going to go on this one.
Well, I think this is fairly predictable in as much as I think. you'd have to be very odd to argue that First Contact isn't the best of the Next Generation films.
Yeah, that's fair
On
enough.
the basis it's pretty much the only half decent one.
Yeah, that's very true. So what? And yourself, Andy?
Oh, yeah, I'm in agreement with that. It has some flaws, and it still pisses me off to this day that it fell back on the whole hive mind has have a queen trope.
Yeah, yeah.
But
definitely.
still, aside from that, on the whole, Star Trek Does Zombies does it quite well.
Yep, and it has a lovely Enterprise E, which I really, really enjoyed looking at because it was an interesting shaped ship.
And it does a lot with all the just because the Next Generation's problem with the movies always was that it got even more characters in the original series, and getting everybody to have something to do that's worthwhile.
It was
harder.
also the only one which got Worf back on the ship in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
As well.
Exactly, although it does diss the Defiance slightly, but we'll rise above that. But yeah, no, the fact that all the crew get something to do, even Crusher is vaguely useful in this one. So yeah.
And it has a nice, and it splits the story into an A/B plot like a normal episode, but actually both plots get well served with Cochrane on the Earth and then up on the Borg ship, and it's nicely done there as well.
Some great bits from Captain Ahab as well.
Yes, and in fact, Marina Sirtis doing her "We haven't got time to talk about time. There isn't the time.
When
we
she
don't
gets
have
drunk,
the time."
yeah,
When she gets
it's
drunk, and then just falls down, and that whole thing with Riker and Geordie sort of trying to convince Cochrane, and that whole bit when he goes for a leak and then runs off into the forest and just shoot him. Still makes me laugh. It's got
some great co-stars as well. Not only have they served the regular cast well, but the co-stars get a good run for their money as well. So.
Oh, you got Barkley in there and everything. Yeah, it's definitely First Contact. And I mean, just since we're doing them now, this would probably be my third overall Trek film from the Prime Trek.
Interesting. That's cool. Well, we'll get to that in a minute because I will have to pause this and work this all out.
Yeah.
But okay. Well, yeah. I mean, for me, no contest. First Contact, and it has a fantastic score. Absolutely one of the top notch of all of the Trek movies, without a doubt. It's the only one. It's the only one I've still got left on my iPod, apart from Wrath of Khan. But now we get into the slightly thorny issue of the next one down.
No, it's not thorny at all, mate.
Really? I'm not so sure. Well, I might be assuming the role of Pete at this point.
Okay.
Well, in that case, Lee, what do you think is the next one?
I think it's Nemesis. I honestly do.
And would you show your work for the class?
Yes, well, I do, because the thing is, there are undoubtedly flaws, but there are flaws in all the other three movies.
Yes,
without a doubt. So there's no distinguishing between sort of the quality of the writing on these three movies. The only thing that Nemesis gets right, as opposed to Generations and Insurrection, is it's a plot that goes from A to B to C and finishes. And on top of that, has some half-decent action, half-decent character moments, and while it doesn't always hit it out of the park, and while it does have far too much Brent Spiner, indulging in Brent Spiner because Brent Spiner has a Brent Spiner.
Yeah. They did that edit of Phantom Menace with cutting Jar Jar out.
Yeah.
If you did that with Nemesis with Data, I suspect it would be at least second. It may even come above First Contact.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. It as I said on Facebook, which essentially kicked this whole thing off. Nemesis is one decent edit away from being at least a half-decent movie. And that can't be said about the other movies. The other generation movies.
My problem with it is it just never sticks in my memory. And every time I think, I can't remember. I stick it on and then I have to get vaguely disappointed. But it's completely unmemorable for me. I don't know why that is. And plus there's the massive irritation that, finally we're going to get to see the Romulans. No, we don't. It's the bloody Remans, second-class orcs. Oh, good.
Well, to me, that never really bothered me because, as far as I'm concerned, Romulans, Remans, Klingons, they eventually all just turn into stereotype with a haircut. So, for me, that didn't really bother me too much. But the thing with Nemesis, what I find is interesting is what they try to do is they try to do Wrath of Khan, and again, that's always a bad move.
Yeah.
But they try to do the whole thing of aging... And aging the crew and having them move on, and that's an interesting thing. I don't like I don't like the Brent Spiner stuff, and I think you could edit most of his stuff out and not impact the movie one jot. But the idea of Picard essentially being the parent and all of the crew leaving the nest, like Troy and Riker getting married and going off to, work on the USS Titan and all this kind of thing, I think is a really solid core to build a story off of. And then when you bring in the Tom Hardy character, it's, like I say, it's just so tantalizingly close to being a good film. It's just the Brent Spiner stuff and the
B5.
B4, because we
right,
can't have it any more on the nose if we tried. Whereas things like Insurrection, which is just pure dull in a can, and Generations, which just seems to be let's watch the two captains ride around so that shippers and fan wankers can sit there and go, they're sitting together, but they don't actually do fuck all. So, to me, Nemesis is a far more accomplished movie in terms of what it sets out to do and what it achieves compared to the other two. Over to you guys.
Okay, you know what? I want to do something you're never going to hear politicians do.
Go on.
I'm going to change my mind. You're right. It is the next best one. In
Bingo.
fact, I'll tell you what, if they did Nemesis straight after the First Contact, when they were a bit younger as well, I think it would have been a lot better received. But yeah, no, you know what? You're right. Nemesis is the second best Next Generation film.
That's not saying a lot. I will...
Again, we're talking a pretty damn low bar here, but you're right, because I think Nemesis at least tries to explore an interesting question, the whole nature versus nurture thing. The effects still stand up today. You know, some of the best effects work you're going to see in Trek. It's got a Jerry Goldsmith score, which is great.
Yep.
Tom Hardy, for all his I'm mocking your Spain jokes and everything, still delivers a relatively solid performance. And if you take out the Brent Spiner gurning stuff, the B4 plot, or if you just rename B4's lore, so that kind of marries up with the continuity a bit better, I have a lot less of an issue with it. So I mean, there is a lot more problems with Generations, which, as I pointed out when the broadcast did it, there's a lot of problems with Generations. Lot of problems. But
there are a few problems with Generations.
I am going to
genuinely enjoy it more than Nemesis. I'm pretty sure. I mean, again, my problem is I can never actually remember Nemesis. I'm going to have to watch it again, aren't I?
Well, it's up to you.
I agree with my learned colleague. I'm putting Nemesis as my second best next gen film.
Good Lord. Okay. Dogs and cats living together. Mass
hysteria.
Right. Okay. Then what about you? What about you then, Pete? I mean,
well, I've got Generations as my second favourite.
Interesting.
Yes, Picard's idea of heaven is chintzy and horrible, and why does he suddenly want a family? And Soren's a waste of space. I'd much rather it had been about the Duras sisters personally, but generally, I do kind of enjoy much of it. There are just chunks that are very irritating.
It's
a curate's egg, a very stinky egg.
Yeah, the problem is that they create a massive, they create clearly a massive plot out with the Nexus and the ability to time travel out, and
they admit as much themselves as well in the commentary. It's worth watching the commentary on this one, because it's like, we done fucked up there, didn't we?
It's like, why even go that far and sort of like just go back to 1 second before? I mean, why not just go back to 10 minutes before and punch him in the mouth before he beams down anywhere?
Go back to 10 forward and arrest him there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's just there's too much stuff where Generations just feels like it's been made by committee and there for fan wankage.
And of course, one of the big criticism that Anne-Marie has about it is the fact that it then slightly pisses, more than slightly pisses over Star Trek 6, because theoretically we said goodbye to all these characters, and here are a few of them back again, at least the ones who were willing to turn up to support Shatner for no good reason, saying lines that could have been said by anybody. I mean, that is pretty manky.
And I swear that his death was a massive fuck you to fans, because it always says he would die on the bridge, not a bridge.
Or the bridge on him.
Exactly. It's just... There's no way that wasn't a massive in-joke where they're just saying, fuck all these people off.
Bridge on the captain.
Yeah.
But now the real problem with Generations is that it really doesn't feel cinematic, and one of the biggest things for me, which is kind of going back to the days when I used to love Next Generation and I used to love Star Trek, but
before the dark times,
before now,
before the Empire.
but the thing with the best of both worlds is it's followed up by a really lovely character piece. Not always perfect, but a nice character piece for Picard called Family.
It's an excellent episode.
And then everyone in it is killed off screen.
Oh, that is cheap and horrible. And even the pictures that he's looking through are of completely different actors as well.
Yeah, it's just another show of complete incompetence and directorial idiocy. It's like, just why would you do that? And then suddenly it's like you try to put in this sort of old age thing that they later explored in Nemesis, but it's like, it seemed like it was like a chalkboard of ideas, and they just kept picking bits at random. Oh, Picard feels old. Picard misses this. Picard misses that. And the whole thing with Data and his bloody emotion chip. I can't switch it off. Oh, I'm scared. It's like, really?
Watch me and my comedy shtick with my tricorder.
Yeah. Life forms, little bitty life forms. And you could see some neckbeard somewhere going, "Whoa, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen." It's just like, no, just no. The whole thing, and the Duras sisters taking down a ship with a fucking Wi-Fi code. I mean, just fuck off. Just seriously, fuck off.
Yeah.
This is why you need to have your network properly password protected, folks.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Worf forgets the shield refresh button.
Yeah, exactly.
It's F5, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. We have the ability to cycle our shields so that the Borg can't even shoot through it. But today, one torpedo. Thanks very much.
To die.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck off. Seriously. So, okay then. Well then, so we got a number twos in many ways.
Oh, yes.
But what would be our third Next Generation movie then? So what about you, Andy? What's your third one between Generations and
Generations.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Generations. For all the reasons we've previously mentioned.
Yes.
All those reasons, but it's because Insurrection is so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. That's the problem. It's
and I'll just say this as well. A lot of time you'll find people saying, "Oh, Insurrection, it's okay, it's a lot of fun if you watch it with a commentary." Well, that means you have a funny commentary track. The film is still shit.
Yeah,
it's just you got a riff trap version of a thing. And that is what the film itself.
That does not make the film decent. No,
exactly. and that's the thing. It's like, look, just because Jonathan Frakes and Maria Sirtis are having a fucking couple of beers. And ripping on how bad this thing is.
She goes, "Was I in this?" It's like, well, you're there on screen.
But yes, that does not a good film make. But Insurrection. No. It doesn't get me as angry as Into Darkness, but it is everything you said about Star Trek V, Lee.
Yeah,
applies to Insurrection for the Next Generation cast.
Yeah,
and on top of all that, you've got worse effects than you had in Star Trek V. You have unfinished effects. Yeah. You have entire massive blue screens where they have obviously just not bothered to film it, and it's just like, did you think this would just pass for the interior of a spaceship? Why?
Yeah.
And that whole thing about we've been looking to see a captain's yacht finally, and it's realised by some 5-year-old on a bloody ZX Spectrum by the looks of it.
Singing fucking Gilbert and Sullivan. And also, on top of all that, you have this horrible message that the technology is wrong. This is all, Star Trek, above all else, I've always thought has been about how technology has been used to make people's lives better. And they find this non-native species living on a planet. They just decided to rock up there and say, this is our planet, which has the ability to save trillions, possibly even, what's bigger than a trillion? Quadrillions of people, in the midst of a Dominion war, if they were able to access this radiation and stuff like this. But no, this small village wants to live forever there, so you can all fuck off.
Space hippies.
Worse than space hippies. It's space hipsters.
Yeah.
With their tiny CG mice things.
Yeah, and their ability to just... It's because, you know what it is? I always call Insurrection basically Picard has blue balls. I mean, that's really what it is, isn't it? He goes down to the planet. He sees was it I can't remember her name. I can't
Well,
remember
that's
anyone's
just
name.
any of the non-regular characters. Do you remember their names?
Not a single one.
No, the bad guy who's played by what's his face, F. Murray Abraham, really good actor. I can't remember his name.
No, he looks
Plastic surgery man.
yeah, he looks like a bunch of half-set toffee. He actually looks like when you get that sort of, the silly putty that you could lift up a newsprint with.
Yep.
He looks like that, but you've melted it in a pot.
Ruffo or something, isn't it?
Oh,
Rufio. No, wait, that's Hook.
That's the guy who plays the Hulk, isn't it? Mark Rufio. But anyway, fucking Insurrection. Fuck that noise. I mean, seriously, I'm down with that. So Generations gets to third place for me. But the problem with Insurrection is not that any of the unfinished effects are bad and all this kind of thing. I mean, but it's tedious. It really is tedious.
Again, with the motion picture, just boring.
And again,
that's the worst sin you can commit is to be boring. At least try and be adventurous. Try and do something different. Meet God. Do something exciting. Don't
try and slip that in there as if we hadn't noticed. Don't try that. We're wise to you. But no. I mean, the thing I find is, in the case of Insurrection, and in the case of things like Generations, and there's a plot device that is so blatantly obvious. You just think, well, there shouldn't actually be a problem here, should there? I mean, going on from Andy's thing, it's like if you've got an entire planet of this radiation, then surely, just maybe, you could take a sample of it and replicate it. Maybe, just maybe, you could land people on the other side of the planet. Maybe, just maybe, you could have an entire half a planet, which is essentially a hospital.
Well, it's just, again, you've got this... They're not native to that planet. They weren't born there. This isn't home. They chose to land on this planet. Fine. But at the end of the day, they're in the midst of a Dominion war at this point. The most catastrophic war that ever hit the Federation. It made the Klingon war from the original series look like a bloody border skirmish. And this could legitimately help trillions of people. But this one village who have decided they want to be immortal are like, no, you can't. Because we don't like technology.
Yes. We shun it.
Now, would you like a deconstructed coffee?
Now, would you like to look at my dandelion flower as I blow it in slow motion?
And the comedy, if you want to use that word, is just appalling. All the female characters are really poorly served.
Yeah, very badly.
It's and let's not forget, activate manual control joystick.
Oh, is that one? Oh man. Yeah,
I mean, yeah. But the manual control joystick, I mean, the Kempston joystick isn't nearly as bad as bloody I'm also set up as a flotation device.
Oh, God,
yeah.
Inflatable pants. Well, that describes Spiner to them.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing. I don't get when people go about, oh no, Nemesis is worse than Insurrection. It is just not. It's just not.
Yep. It's just,
I'm talking to you, Drew. I know you're out there listening. It's just not.
It's demonstrably shit. So okay then. So we've hit like 40 minutes here, and we've got to just finish up with Pete's last two because we got Insurrection and Nemesis as gap. So which one would you pick over those two then, Pete? Which one would be your third option, and which one would be your fourth?
So I've got First Contact's the best one.
Yes.
Yep.
Generation's the second, which
then Nemesis, then Insurrection.
Oh, so Nemesis would be your third.
So we got a clean sweep, but Insurrection's the worst.
There you go. So
consensus.
Ow,
who'd have thunk it?
Only on the first and the fourth. That is worth mentioning for Generations. So now it leaves us down to sort of see if we can actually assemble this into some kind of actual definitive list of all 10. Do you think?
I'll tell you this: Insurrection is my least favourite of all of the Prime Trek films.
Same here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So
I would watch 5 over Insurrection.
So you really would?
I really would.
Right. Okay.
Good man.
That's.
I'm not. Look, 5 is next. Saying it's Insurrection.
I will take the small victories.
I would be very honest with you. I would never if I never watched Final Frontier ever again. I think I'd be a very happy man. Whereas Insurrection is just visual wallpaper. It does so little to engage me. I can't get offended by it. Whereas the Final Frontier actively offends me. So for me, that would be the other way around. Insurrection would be my 9th. It was certainly not the worst. It's certainly one of the worst films out of the Trek canon by a long chalk. But yeah, no, Final Frontier is the worst for me. It's definitely the worst.
I think if you got me and you in a room, Lee, and we watching Star Trek 5, it'd be like getting a humidifier and a dehumidifier in the same room, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think it would be like antimatter and matter colliding. You'd be able to.
I was going to say we hook up some wires here. We could solve the world's power problem here.
Yeah, it'd be like putting buttered toast on the back of a cat and then dropping it, seeing which side landed upwards. But okay, so okay then. So
we'll probably sell tickets to the event as well, I suspect.
Yeah, definitely. So okay then. So now we've kind of got a bit of time here. So we got Wrath of Khan at number 1. What is your second ever Trek film? Now that we've opened it up,
still undiscovered for me.
Yep, still 6.
Okay. Well, for me, I would say it was First Contact. I enjoy First Contact a lot. And Undiscovered Country would be my 3rd.
First Contact's my 3rd.
Yep, same here.
Okay, right. Well, there you go. Look at this. This is all changing. This is all changing here. Right. Okay. So, well, what about your 4th then? 4th movie.
That's clearly 5.
I'm still sticking with Search for
Spock. Really?
Yeah.
See, I would go for Nemesis.
Yeah,
I would.
You've had one victory out of me, mate. That's all you're getting today.
I'm not pushing it. Don't worry, I'm not pushing it. Don't worry. But I do. I think Nemesis is overall wholly a better film. But that's just me. But okay then. So it's all getting very confusing now. So my 4th would be Nemesis. My 5th would be, I think, Search for Spock. What about you guys, Pete?
I think
I got Voyage Home as 5th.
Is your 5th ever? Right,
yeah.
Okay. Andy?
I'll go Nemesis for my 5th.
I feel like there's a tweaking in the air. Right, okay. And then further on from that, let's go for your 6th movie. I mean, I would go... gods. That's a bad list. That's a terrible list, actually. I mean, I suppose Voyage Home would be my 6th movie. Really? What about you?
I'll take the slow motion picture.
Really?
Oh, gosh.
God sakes. Pete, your 6th movie?
Search for Spock for me.
Search for Spock. There you go. And your 7th film?
Generations.
7th
at 7.
Yeah, I'd probably go Generations as well.
I suppose I would too.
Yeah, so all in agreement on 7.
7 is 7. There you go. That's interesting. For your 8th movie?
That's Nemesis for me.
Nemesis.
Voyage Home.
Okay. A Voyage Home is your 8th. Okie dokie. And my 8th, I guess... Christ all fucking mighty. My 8th would probably be the motion picture, I guess. Yeah, definitely. Okay then. And for the 9th movie, I mean,
I've Final Frontier.
Final Frontier for you, Andy, and for you, Pete.
Motion picture.
Motion picture. And I've already said mine. Insurrection. It's got to be 9th because Final Frontier is the worst fucking movie. By a long
except for Insurrection.
No. Like I say, one makes me angry and cross and sad. The other one just bores the bollocks off me.
Well, at least it's you're getting a reaction out of you. So it's better than being boring.
Yeah, I know. But you know what else gets you a reaction? Eating cesium. That blows a hole in your chest. Not a good thing. Anyway, I'm going to pause it now and do a bit of calculating and stuff. And see if
Intermission time!
Intermission. Roll the jingle. There you Okay, so our complete list of episode, film, numbers, things has been calculated.
By
So if you're going
men.
to squash us, all three of us, into one amalgamated geek.
Into one
This is what you
amalgamated geek. This is the official Space Doc Jury top 10 of Star Trek movies. And at number 10, we have Star Trek Insurrection.
No surprise.
There's a surprise. At number 9, we have The Final Frontier.
Boo!
It's better than you deserve.
Yeah,
I demand a recount.
yeah. At number 8,
Oh, okay, let's recount. There's 3 of us. I think it's 9. You think it's 9. There you go. It's 9.
Democracy. Hooray. At number 8, we have The Motion Picture, which is kind of interesting. And shockingly, because we all agreed, number 7 is Generations. At number 6, we have The Voyage Home. Interesting placement there. Oi!
The Chas and Dave version.
Oi! Anyway, at number 5...
That's the man who made my kidney grow back.
Oh, God. Number 5, we have Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis. At number 4, we have The Search for Spock. At number 3, we have First Contact. And number 2, we have The Undiscovered Country. And shocking no one at all is at number 1, The Wrath of Khan. So there you go. That's the list. That's our definitive, scientifically argued, and generally raved out list of definitive Star Trek movies.
Is it going to change any of our personal opinions? No.
No,
Not a jot.
not a jot. But there you go. But it's a collective. The SDJ collective has spoken. And so, do you agree? Do you think we're wrong? Would you argue certain ones higher? Would you say that Nemesis is a complete pile of shit and should be at the very bottom? Tell us. Leave us a comment. Tell us on Twitter, which is at SpaceDocJury. Let us also know on the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/SpaceDocJury. And that's it, really. That's all she wrote. So, thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Andy. And,
You're welcome, sir.
Yes. Let this argument now be settled. Case is closed. And on
You know what?
yeah.
I'm just thinking that there's another franchise with Star in the name, which has got a number of films.
Oh God. Oh God. Well, that's
Star Wars Wars.
That's all we have. That's all we have time for tonight. Good night, everyone. No, okay then. We'll deal with that on our next minisode. Until then, take care, and we'll see you all next time. Ta-da!
Tinkety tonk.
I should go.
And down with the Nazis.
Space Doc Jury is a production of 3 Angry Beards for GeekPlanetOnline.com.